For the past year, we have been planning a family vacation to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Monday morning, we started with a 9 to 11 a.m. First Tracks snowmobile tour. Around 8 a.m., they showed up to our house with a shuttle and drove our group up to the mountain where they do the tours. We got all nestled into the van, and before we even started moving, I was sick. I was recovering from a double ear infection. I tend to get motion sick easily anyway, but since having the double ear infections, it seems like I get motion sick so much easier now. I jumped out, and ultimately Donnie decided that Todd and I would just take his truck and follow the shuttle up. The ride up through the mountains was pretty tough, but again, when the cold air hit my face and we got back out, I was doing pretty good again. The snowmobiling was incredible. The weather was just perfect, and it was so much fun. Unfortunately, the ride back after snowmobiling pretty much did me in. It had me carsick to the point that I just had to take the rest of the day to try and recover. A lot of our group went snow tubing in the afternoon, but I was afraid that I couldn't handle that, so I passed, and I spent the whole afternoon just trying to sleep it off. By the evening, I was itching to get out and do something. It just so happened that one of our group ended up getting their truck stuck in the snow, and Donnie and Matt went to help get it unstuck. So I decided to ride along just to give myself a little outing and feel like I wasn't stuck in the house. Wrong choice. By the time we made it out to the truck, I was sick. I was reaching so far within myself that I really don't remember a lot of that evening, but I do remember feeling so relieved when we finally got back to the house. You know when you're just so nauseous and you know that if you could only throw up, you would feel so much better? That's the point that I was at. I just sat for about an hour wishing that I could just get it out of my system and feel better. Finally, I did. After that, I was completely drained though, so I went right to bed for the night. On Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling so much better in the nausea sense, but my ears were bothering me a whole lot more that day. I'd finished my second round of antibiotics for this double ear infection about a week before our trip, and I was hoping that that would be enough to knock it out, but I could just tell that it was easing back in, and I didn't want to be miserable for the whole rest of the trip, so I decided to make a virtual urgent care appointment so that I could make it through the rest of the trip and the road trip home. We went to Walgreens, picked that medicine up, and Donnie talked me into taking a rest day on Tuesday. I got to stay at the house with the kids, and we watched all the classic Disney princess movies that I grew up on. Sitting in the house with a fire lit, watching it snow, watching these classic movies that I hadn't watched since my own childhood. It was so much fun that I would have missed out on had I been totally well. Most of the group was skiing Tuesday anyway, so I didn't miss much on that front. By Wednesday, I was feeling like a whole new person. Unfortunately, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law's girlfriend both woke up feeling sick. Those of us who were feeling well took the gondola to the top of Mount Werner and had lunch on top of the mountain. That was not exactly what we had expected. For one, the restaurant that I was hoping to eat at had since closed. Also, it was snowing so hard that you couldn't see any of the beautiful view from the top of the mountain. Still fun and good memories with family, but not exactly what we had expected. We headed back to the house in time to catch the second round of snow tubing with the family. Saddleback Ranch is outside of town and they have a really great, family friendly, fun setup for snow tubing. I went down a couple times and it was a blast, but I was very careful not to overdo it because it felt good to feel good and I didn't want to go back to being sick. We are in downtown Steamboat. The group just went snow tubing. It was really cool. I think it'd be fun to do in the morning. We went at 4 and it got dark fast. It was still really cool. It's such a pretty area and you get pretty views of the mountains. But now we are downtown, just the two of us. And we are about to get dinner at Mazzola's, which is the Italian restaurant that we ate at when we were here on our honeymoon. And I am very excited. I've been thinking about bison lasagna for 3 years, so it better live up to my memories.
It is good.
We are gonna get some dinner and then go back. Probably go to bed reasonably early because it's been an interesting past few days for everybody. I love walking through the snow. The way your feet slide around, the sound it makes. It's snowing again.
Yes, it is.
Oh, everything's pretty when it snows. When we got back to the house, we found that Donnie's dad and brother's girlfriend were still very sick. At this point, we had one full day left before we were supposed to start the road trip back home, so we were weighing our options. My brother-in-law and his girlfriend were actually supposed to fly out the next day, and my father-in-law was sick enough that it was pretty important to get him back home to see his doctor. Ultimately, we decided around 2 a.m. Thursday morning that we would get a couple hours sleep and then get up, pack up, and hit the road as soon as we could Thursday morning. So we went to bed around 2:30 a.m. and at 3 a.m. we woke up because Donnie had gotten sick. He was in and out of the bathroom throwing up between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m., which is when everyone else was getting up and starting to pack and get the vehicles loaded to leave. We still don't know for sure what it was, but based on a lot of different factors, we are thinking that it was likely food poisoning. He didn't feel great the whole rest of the day, but for the most part, he had gotten it out of his system, and somehow he was able to push through and drive us home. Unfortunately, as soon as we started moving, my motion sickness was full force. That made for a very long and pretty miserable drive. I don't remember a lot of that day other than it being very quiet, and several times we would just look at each other like, how are we gonna do this? It's been wild past few days, really. Long story short, we are on our way home. We ended our trip early because everyone ended up sick and we were just trying to make it home. We stopped in Silverthorne at Advanced Auto Parts to get some washer fluid because we have been driving on some wet, mucky roads, and Matt called and said they ran out of washer fluid in their car, and we've been going through it too. The windshield is gross. We have been driving for about 2 hours now. Donnie and I are exhausted. Neither of us is feeling the best. Donnie is still sick from whatever everyone's had, whether it's food poisoning or a stomach bug, we don't know, but that's the kind of deal that everybody's been dealing with. Me, I've had an ear infection, so I am sick right now because I'm just car sick. How are you?
I don't feel the best.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long day. We pushed very hard on Thursday, and around 10 p.m. we stopped in Kansas for the night. It felt so good to not be moving. I slept hard, and Donnie and I both woke up feeling a lot better, which was a huge answered prayer. We had 5 to 6 hours left to drive at that point, and it was still pretty rough, but it just felt much more doable. Since we were getting closer, we took the drive a little bit slower and took more breaks, stopped for snacks and meals often, and slowly made our way home. It was around 6 p.m. when we did arrive back home. I was so relieved to be home, to have my bed, and we pretty much took the rest of the weekend to sleep it off and try and recover. Overall, it was such a great trip. We had so much fun and made tons of memories. So here's my takeaway. Even when things don't go according to plan, time you spend and memories you make with your loved ones will always be worth it.